Hello everybody, my name is Astrophoto. In today's video we're going to be going over streaking or scratching noise. Now, this is something that happens not in post-processing. This is something that happens when you take the image. Alright, let's get that straight out of the way. So, if you are seeing this in your post-process final image, there is absolutely, unfortunately, no way you can remove it, even if you use Topaz, even if you use Graxpert, even if you use PixInsight, even if you use any sort of noise exterminator app, it just will not remove itself. And this is what's called scratching noise. Now, this happens when the mount cannot handle the weight that is on it. And usually this only happens when you don't know how to use the system like I did. And the only way to fix this, let's say if you have a Skywatcher Star Venture like I do, there are two ways you go about fixing this. First off, if you do have this and it is not some sort of weight problem, like your mount is perfectly balanced, then this means that there is something wrong with the motor of the mount itself, which is highly unlikely. And if there is something wrong with the motor of your mount, well then, you're just going to have to check that through getting a very, very light rig on there and just checking the tracking and seeing if it's okay. And maybe if you can attach an auto guider, that can help as well. But the real reason why this happens most of the time is because you have a very heavy load on there. Let's just say you put a ball head and a 4-pound camera with a lens on there. Sometimes as it tracks through the night, that weight is going to shift over to the side of the mount or maybe to the other side, and your camera might be pointing at the the totally opposite direction. So that weight isn't necessarily going to balance itself like it would on an L bar versus a ball head. So the only way to remove this is to completely reshoot the data. So it kind of sucks if you do have 6 hours worth of data and this is revealed in your post-processing like it was in mine. You're gonna have to completely scrap it because it looks crap, and there's no way to remove this. I feel as myself I could just lift the noise out of the image because it's just there and I could totally remove it. Problem is though, this is baked into the image and there's no way to remove it unless you use some sort of different setup. And I've used the L bracket on the Skywatcher Star Venture or any type of mount. And the main problem I find with this is if your mount is not correctly balanced, you're just not going to get suitable images. And this is one of the problems that arises the most when you use the ball head on the Skywatcher Star Venture. And I would think in some cases that the only purpose for that ball head to be there with the ball head mount on the Skywatcher Star Venture would be for wide field images, 50 millimeters or less. And clearly I had a 135 on here and it just did not want to cooperate. So that's how you fix scratchy noise. And I wish there was a way to remove this. You cannot remove it in post processing. I wish you could just extract it from there and it'd be all fun and dandy. But unfortunately, when the mount doesn't cooperate, the data is not going to cooperate, and so on and so forth. And therefore your final image is just going to look like this scratching and streaking, and it looks like a cat scratched it almost. It's really unfortunate because this is really good data, but because of that you've got like a bunch of messy pockets of not only noise but uh, hot pixels, and just you got a whole mess of slosh and stuff here because of scratching noise. And the data's there. Like this was shot from a Bortle 7 at f2.8 at ISO 420-second subs. The data's there. It's just like I can't extract it because of scratching noise. So that's the only way you can fix it because I've used it on different objects and no scratchy noise appears. And that's literally the only way you can remove the noise is by just I guess using make sure your mount's not messed up, and yeah, just make sure your mount is balanced because if it's a little tiny ball head, it's not going to balance. But also, it doesn't look that bad when you look at it. It's not gonna look great. I don't know if you could really add on to the data. You might be able to. I mean, this is pretty good so far, but I just don't want to really add it to anything else. Here's what it looks like without the starless on it. Here's you can get a better idea of the scratching, what I'm talking about. But yeah, that's how you would fix it. It's just you got to make sure your mount's balanced, make sure there's nothing wrong with it, and make sure the weight's not like gonna throw around to one side. I'd recommend if you're using a super heavy lens, like the Samyang 135 is a pretty heavy lens. I'd recommend using the L bracket and then rebalancing once you've got your target centered. Just, you can recenter it after you've centered it, but you just got to make sure to unlock that clutch, balance it, and then re-engage that clutch. And that's just one of the many unfortunate things about that is that weight's going to shift. And then also another excuse I found for this happening was the ball head that I was using. The ball head is a very, very cheap ball head, and that weight over time is going to slip. Even if you have it tightened to the absolute maximum, that weight is just going to slip to one side over many, many hours of tracking. This is almost 2 hours of tracking, and you can just see, like, just like how horrible the scratching is because of not only the ball head adding to the problem, but the mount not being able to compensate for that extreme weight because the whole thing weighs about 4.5 pounds and the weight limit is around 12 pounds, 11, 12 pounds. But you can easily climb up to that maximum by using an L bracket, which would actually help. But again, this is this is why it happens because you're just not checking anything. So when you're doing astrophotography, take it slow. I'm definitely gonna have to reshoot all the data I did, which kind of sucks. And I'll see you guys in a little bit. So, Astro P signing off and goodbye.